All right, let us jump into the conversation. Brandon Pierpont, welcome to Out of the Hourglass. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Molly.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I say this morning, it's actually afternoon. So, but wherever you're listening to this, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Really excited to have Brandon on here. Brandon, you and I had the pleasure of meeting back in the fall in Scottsdale at a PCA commercial event, which was awesome. And it kind of, was a great opportunity to meet folks like yourself and, connect with other contractors. For our listeners' sake, the PCA is the Painting Contractors Association. I know we have a lot of painting contractors on here, but we also work with a lot of industries. We also then most recently met again at the PCA Expo out in Colorado Springs. So just coming off of that trip. Brandon, how was the PCA for you? How was the expo?
Oh, it was awesome. I probably go to 6 PCA events a year, and the expo is obviously the Super Bowl, right,
Yes,
for the PCA event. So I get to see a lot of people that I've known for quite a few years. Get to make new friends every time. I think there were 150 new attendees this
that's
time.
awesome.
Yep, yeah, I was actually had the privilege of being on the expo committee with the
Mm,
PCA, so I spent a lot of time planning it. It was nice to see how it played out in
for
actuality, and I think it
sure.
was a huge success.
Was that your first time on the planning committee?
I have been on it. I think it's my second time.
Awesome.
Second
Well,
time.
great job. Having been or having working in a a planning committee role myself for our own programs, I know that those things are a beast and they take a lot of players and there's a lot of moving parts. So well done on an event ran super smoothly.
Appreciate it.
So, before we dive into the conversation, there are a lot of folks who, probably several folks who listen to this who know who you are. Obviously, you are known in the PCA world, which is fantastic. Clients of yours are probably listening to this. But for those that don't know you, Brandon, who are you? What do you do? Where are you from?
Awesome. Yeah. So I am founder of Painter Marketing Pros. I am from St. Petersburg, Florida, happily married, two little boys. I have been marketing for painters for over 5 years. So we've been in this space for quite a long time. We work only with painting contractors. Our customer avatar, if you will, is the ambitious painting company owner with long-term goals. So
Love
we
it.
are less focused on the, hey, let's, as you and I were kind of joking around, let's make a milli next month. And we're more focused on, hey, let's put the pieces in place. Let's build marketing that's delivering a positive ROI, and let's create a true asset.
Love it. We're certainly aligned in that respect from a business, consulting and coaching perspective, building value. It's kind of, that's the end goal at the end of the day. What got you into the marketing space? Because I did a little bit of research. You weren't always in the marketing world.
I was not. No, it's kind of funny. So I was in finance. So my
Okay.
background, I went to University of Notre Dame, came out, went into investment banking, worked in tech and telecom there. Then I went into private equity where I conducted leveraged buyouts. So we bought companies that were sub $10 million in EBITDA. We fixed them and then sold them for a profit. So essentially flipped companies. I then got very burnt out on the kind of intense finance route. I
Mm.
moved to Costa Rica, learned Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, did a
I did
very,
not
very
know all of this research when I asked that question. So this is good. Sorry, keep going. Costa
no,
Rica,
no
learn
worries.
Spanish.
Yeah, I actually immediately prior to that had tried to found a software company that did not play out. So went to Costa Rica. My friend was a missionary. So he was actually
Okay.
learning Spanish to go be a missionary in Mexico. So I went and I joined him down there for a little under 2 years, ended up staying for a long time, learning Spanish, came back, became the CFO of a software company. So I went corporate finance for the first time for about 2 years and then said, I'm fully checked out of jobs. I'm not going to do that anymore. But I had paralysis by analysis. So I couldn't decide what company to start. My wife's finally, like, hey, do you think you could figure out how to detail a car? I'd washed cars a fair amount of times and never really done extensive detailing. I said I could probably figure that out. And I went into it thinking I'll do well. I have finance background, have some operations background. I
Hmm.
think I know a decent amount about business, so I'll go into this and how hard can it be? Put up the proverbial shingle, open the company, and then crickets. And I was like, oh, hold on. There's something else to being an entrepreneur. And that's when I really effectively understood the importance of marketing and that I didn't know
Hmm.
what I was doing. And so I took a very, very deep dive into marketing. Turns out with a finance background that those kinds of people tend to really like marketing because the ROI, the focus on the metrics and the psychology.
Absolutely.
And so I took a very, very deep dive in that, ended up growing the business and exiting the auto detailing company, and then rolled into marketing because I developed really a passion for it during that time.
That is a that's a
Lot
long
of pieces.
road to get,
Lot
but
of pieces.
you've seen a lot of different environments,
Yeah.
lived in a lot of different environments. I would venture to guess that all of those experiences have really allowed you to kind of succeed even more in the space you are because you have different perspectives that you can kind of bring to the table.
I believe so. I think the traditional background for marketing agency owner, from my experience, is someone who's really focused on sales, right? And so
Yes.
there are people who come from either used car salesmen, there are people who are out of college, or maybe they've taken courses online and it's a way to kind of quickly try to make money. And so there are a lot of salespeople in this space. I
Mhm.
had to work to really become a salesperson. It wasn't natural to me. What was natural to me was the return on investment, the results, the actual effectiveness of the marketing. And I think that's where Painter Marketing Pros has really thrived in what would be considered a pretty competitive space for
Yeah.
a half decade at this point.
Absolutely. Someone once said to me, marketing is like where art and kind of data can really collide. And
Yeah.
you bringing that data analysis, the facts, the ROI, which is a big, I think, blind spot for a lot of business owners who are trying to understand how to market. They don't understand the ROI, even though it's there. It can also feel blurry at times, and
True.
so I think that ability, I would imagine, for you to translate, what the marketing strategy can do, probably is a big emphasis on how you keep relationships going within your
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. There
S-
are quite a few partners we've had for a lot of years. And
That's
so I think
awesome.
for me, that's a huge testament to my team and what we've
Mhm.
produced. And then the past 2 years at the PCA Expo, something I'm beyond proud of. We were blessed to receive Industry Partner of the Year as a marketing agency.
Congrats.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah. So is that's a really, really major vote of confidence from the PCA. And I
Yeah.
think it just, to me, it's a testament and validation of what we've built.
I think it's an award you can hang proudly on your wall because like I said, you have had to work probably really hard to build and retain and keep that relationship and show your commitment and engagement to a growing organization. I mean, we've seen the
Yeah.
PCA grow so much over the last several years. How did you land into the painting industry, from a marketing space? Why didn't you choose landscaping or roofing or whatnot?
Yeah, so I started a generalist agency. So that was the first thing I started when I sold the auto
Okay.
detail business. And so generalist meaning it was industry agnostic. We worked with a variety of different industries. Painters was something that we performed exceptionally well at. I found that it was a highly underserved niche. There were not it was not me and 100 of my closest friend competitors as it currently seems to be. It was a space really no one was super focused on. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed working with painters. I saw that there was a clear need there. Auto detailing was somewhat similar. It's a business that's viewed as a commodity. It can be a race to the bottom if you don't effectively differentiate yourself and provide that experience that causes people to pay you more money than they would another
Mhm.
company and still choose to hire you consistently. So then we were able to build a full system around growing painting companies that was highly effective. And when you're running a generalist agency, every time a new industry onboards with you, so if it's a veterinarian or a lawyer or a painter or a roofer, the buying cycle is different. The customer avatar is different. The types of
Mhm.
marketing channels that work the best and kind of what you can expect from your different metrics are all different. So it's essentially starting a new company every time. It's extremely inefficient, and
Yeah.
focusing on only painters and having Painter Marketing Pros born out of that allowed us to go a lot deeper.
That makes sense. You really have really focused in on exactly who you're looking to serve and really, excelling in that space. I mean, our conversation today, obviously it's coming from your background working, with painting contractors, but is it safe to say the things that we'll be talking about can kind of hit across industry, especially those who are serving in the residential, hybrid, commercial space?
100%. Yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of the painters we work with will do other services.
Yeah.
So some offer roofing, some offer gutters. A number of them do flooring or siding. So I think the general psychology of serving homeowners and serving commercial property owners and what that looks like in terms of building value and generally marketing for home services in general is pretty consistent.
Okay, that's a great place for us to kind of start diving in. Now, at the PCA, you held or ran a workshop, build your custom marketing blueprint, and I've got the workbook
Nice.
right here. It's
Got it.
it's a really great workbook you put together. It's obviously created with care and the really great quality, which we talked about. Like, do you lean into those things at an expo or do you not? And you guys did, and it's why I still have it is because it's a nice piece within here. So you ran a workshop kind of working folks through, kind of an analysis of their own, marketing strategy, like a diagnostic. But then you talked about a marketing roadmap, a blueprint, and I found that to be so helpful. And I want to talk a little bit about that. The reason being, I mean, like yourself, you probably work with companies of a variety of revenue ranges, as do we here. Most of our companies, we start with, around a million in annual revenue, but we work with a lot of larger businesses as well. And there's always points as they grow is how does the marketing strategy change? What else do they need to implement? What else do they need to be investing in? And so you laid out a really cool, blueprint of, revenue, frameworks and where they should be spending their time. So we'll run a little, just kind of an overview of those a little bit, but I want to start with an area that you call the always marketing activities, so that like no matter who you are, what revenue
Yeah.
size you are, these are things that you can be doing. What are a few of those, just to give people kind of a taste of what we're talking about?
Yeah, and if it's okay, Molly, I'd like to provide just a tiny bit of context to
Please, that'd be
this.
great.
Yeah, so this idea stemmed from the fact that marketing is really confusing, and I think agencies sometimes actually use that to their advantage. Like, hey,
Mhm.
this stuff's it's so confusing. You should do this and this and this, but you don't actually understand what I'm saying. So you should just pay me money and I'll do it for you, right? Which maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't pay the money, but you should understand the marketing channels and what you're doing. And so there are so many different options. Just digital ads. There's Google local service ads. There's Google pay per click. There's Facebook ads, Instagram ads. There's Nextdoor. Should you be running YouTube ads? Should you be running ads on TikTok? Should you be doing email marketing and SEO and local SEO and on and on and on and on it goes.
There's so many
But
things.
so many things. So I said, it would be awesome if I know when I started with the auto detailing, I was super overwhelmed. And the first thing we did was build a Wix site. One of those website builders don't tend to rank very well for a variety of reasons I won't get into, but built one of those sites. And then we got hustled by a quote unquote SEO Wix expert, which is a joke. And so it paid that person because I didn't even know what SEO was or what it stood for. And that was kind of my first foray into marketing. And it only got more
Mhm.
confusing from there. So I said, let's at least break it down for people, give them some guideline, some roadmap. So even if they don't understand all the intricacies, they understand roughly the channels they should be looking at that revenue size. So the always on stuff, that whether you're day zero and you have an idea for a painting company and now you're going to start doing it, or you're 10, 20 million plus, some of those things would be a strong sales system. Obviously
Mhm.
having a strong sales system, I think it's very much undervalued and underfocused on in the painting space and in the contractor space in general. But the value of all your leads will increase if you can close more consistently for higher profits. Door hangers, yard signs, wrap vehicles, proactive referral and repeat business program. So this idea, hey, I grew through word of mouth. It's unbelievable how many companies grow through word of mouth doing absolutely nothing. Their quality
Yeah.
is not exceptional. It's just okay. They don't have any kind of marketing system. They don't have a CRM. They don't even know what that means. So they have no system, and yet they grow through word of mouth. So imagine when you actually put a system in place and you actually effectively lean into repeat referral business, effective review generation process. So our target is at least one 5-star review for every 3 projects completed, and then a professional social media presence. And I'd say at least a professional website, even if that's a one-pager from Wix, right? Because when you get a lead, whether you're at the Chamber of Commerce or BNI, or you're a $20 million company and you're running ads, it's all about converting those leads at a higher rate and charging more, and your whole professional presence allows you to do that.
Absolutely. You mentioned something about kind of like a repeat business program and referral program. That comes up a lot with clients of ours who have great repeat business, are trying to lean into that more. And they're always asking, what is a good referral program? Do you see, or can you provide, an example of a great referral program framework that you've seen work well?
So at the end of, I believe the whole process, the whole buyer's journey is a series of sales.
Okay.
So when someone comes through your website and they fill out your form, or they fill out your Facebook lead form, or however they make contact with you or you make contact with them, the first sale is setting an estimate, right? Then you set the estimate, you build value. I won't dive too deep into that, but you should build value prior to showing up. And then the next sale is obviously selling the job, right? So you close on the job. And that's where people think that the sales end. But after that, there's a sale of a review, which you should get, and we can get into that, but you should get the review before you even leave the job site. And then there's the sale of the referral, which again, you can get even before you leave the job site. So I am a big believer, physical things that people can hold. There's something
Mhm.
powerful about that, especially in the digital space. So you should have an official referral program. It should be branded. It should be named something. It shouldn't be this little card. It shouldn't be a verbal comment. Hey, refer us and we'll give you $100, or, we'll give them $200 off or whatever. It should be actually an official program printed on cardstock or something else substantive, maybe a folder that you hand them. It needs to have a benefit to the referrer. So the person that you just completed the project for, as well as the referee. So we see 10% or
Okay.
15% off for the referee, as well as maybe a $200 Amazon card or $100 Amazon card. Because if you're only giving money off for the referee, then the referrer can feel like they got kind of stiffed on their
Yeah.
project. But if you're only giving it to the referrer, then they can kind of feel like they're sort of selling out their friend or their family, or kind of pimping them out and trying to profit off. So we see doing it
Yeah.
for both. And then what we do in our programs, whichever one we run, we have a variety of them, is we do what's called a database reactivation. A better term for that would be leads on demand. So it makes a little more sense. But we reach out to everyone in our partners CRM. So all the leads that they've had, all the past clients that they've worked with, and we have a
Mhm.
structured campaign by email and text. We'll run some kind of promotion. We do it at strategic times of year. We do it 4 times a year to drum up business and essentially shake the trees and get the low hanging fruit. So I think staying in contact, adding value, newsletters can be a component of this. Direct mail can be a component of this.
Yep.
But staying in contact with them is the key to this. But also trying to immediately get a project before you even leave the site, get another lead, or potentially multiple leads.
Are you encouraging people to get like actual names of a potential new project before they leave the job site,
If possible.
if
Yeah, I mean, I
possible?
think if you've built that kind of rapport, I know it can be challenging sometimes with subcrews,
Yeah.
but if you've built that kind of rapport, then 100%. But at the very least, leaving that documentation with them, and then a follow up. Say, hey,
Hmm.
I'm going to follow up with you. I want to make sure if you see anything that maybe you didn't catch today, I want to make sure we take care of it for you. So my office is going to give you a call tomorrow or maybe in a couple of days. And then really the main component of that follow up is really to get the referral.
I love that. Well, probably that same time, the existing client is just feeling like a very high level of communication and professionalism with, how you operate your business.
I mean, that's the fear, right? Is that the contractor's gonna come in and maybe they're gonna steal. But probably an even more common fear would be that they're going to do a shoddy job and then they're going to be gone. And so the
Yeah.
fact that you're proactively reaching out, you're going to reach out whether they want you to or not, because you value it that much. But you also have this agenda, right? That
Mhm.
that you're also going to look for that referral, and you're going to do it in a strategic and tactful manner. It's a killer combo.
That's great. I appreciate that share because it's something that comes up very, very frequently. And I don't think we always lean into having an actual like branded program attached to it. We speak about it more hypothetically. We put it in an email blast and it just kind of like lives in limbo land until we actually really need it. And we're trying to think of what can we do to make, to implement this
Right.
quickly.
Well, and then the 15 rounds, right, or 5 rounds, 10 rounds, door knocking around the general neighborhood, yard signs. I
Mhm.
mean, all that stuff can organically create as well, especially for exterior projects. People have FOMO. So if you're in a
Yes.
neighborhood you want to serve, and they're seeing the Joneses and how nice that looks, that can generate leads in and of itself. But yeah, the more intentional you are, and that goes back to the always on, the whole purpose of the always on marketing is to maximize the value of your leads. And that's why it doesn't matter if you're zero or you're 100 million. You should be squeezing every little bit of value out of every lead you get.
That's a really great point. As you grow, different revenues, different strategies, how did you go about kind of laying out this blueprint? And is it out of, seeing how your own clients spend? Is it from your own experience kind of working in the auto detailing space and trying to understand where you needed to be at different revenue sizes?
The experience from the auto detail is not really what got me here. The experience from the
Okay.
auto detail is what taught me the frustration of not knowing,
Yeah.
right? So getting sold from all the different vendors and told you need to do this, no, you need to do that, no, you need to do direct mail, no, it's actually videos that work, no, it's door knocking that works, no, it's Facebook ads that work. That stuff can drive you nuts, and you can end up getting paralysis
Mhm.
by analysis, or even worse, just throw a bunch of money into the toilet because you don't know what you're doing, and maybe someone misled you. The actual information that we have here is from working with over 350 painting contractors over the past 5 years, right? So we've generated
Mhm.
over $200 million in sales through that. We put together these statistics earlier this year. So this is not a lack of experience talking here. So we generally know how much leads cost via different channels. We know how long it takes to get leads via different
Mhm.
channels. We understand the difference in the set and conversion rate via the different channels. And then we know financials, right? So a company's financials at 500,000 is going to look different at 5 million. And so I know generally what kinds of marketing they should be thinking about at that stage.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's a lot of questions that our clients have is at what point am I pulling the trigger on, the pay per click? At what point am I
Yep.
hiring an agency to help me do things? And that actually is a big question I have. A lot of, businesses try to do, I'd say, businesses that are in the 1 to 3 million range are doing a lot of marketing in-house. Somebody's handling it. Maybe the business owner, they probably shouldn't be. It's like that one extra thing on their plate. When do you see kind of the best flip for businesses to be finally, hiring either a marketing specialist or working with an agency to help them actually run marketing activities?
So I'm going to lay out how I look at this.
Okay,
And,
love it.
and as opposed to kind of giving a black and white answer, I think I'm going to give a way of thinking about it because it's
Okay.
going to be different for every company. So we have companies that typically when we're looking at companies, we want to see them at 500,000 and above. So oftentimes that's I guess a rule of thumb I'll give right there. Typically, if you're below 500,000, you probably should be doing primarily sweat equity activities. So what I call free marketing, and we have a whole section on that, but that should be your main focus. So door knocking, referrals, reaching out to friends, family, maybe some basic door hangers, things of that nature, but really boots on ground, grassroots marketing. But we've also had companies that were at 250,000 came on board with us for our most extensive program. There's one in particular that I spotlighted at Expo, and then he just did 1.4 million within 12 months. And now the target is 3 million this year. And then we're marching to 10 million. So it really is very company specific. How I think about an agency. So an agency, what are the alternatives to an agency? So you can hire an agency and they're going to run their marketing for us. We have a full program as part of it. So we have a CRM, a sales system, email marketing, all kinds of stuff. Right. So you can hire an agency. You can do it as the business owner yourself. So as you mentioned, the 1 to 3 million, a lot of the business owners will do it. That's what I did. That's what I decided to do. It was not the most efficient approach by any stretch, but I ended up really enjoying it to the point that I essentially switch careers.
Yeah.
So you can do it yourself or you can hire someone to do it, right? So you can pull in a director of marketing or something like that, which oftentimes, if they're worth anything, will end up being a lot more expensive than the agency because now you have someone on full-time staff. And then I guess the fourth option, it's really the same as the owner, would be you have someone on your team do it, but someone who's not really qualified to do it. So a lot of times it will be the office manager, the admin, they say they're running Facebook ads. I ran a lot of the brain melt tables at PCA Expo on how to generate a high ROI through your Facebook ads. And a lot of people were saying they're running Facebook ads when they're boosting posts. Those are two totally different things. So those are the options. So when I think about hiring an agency, I'm thinking about what does it cost to have a marketing person in-house? Because that's essentially what I'm outsourcing instead, right? And if I'm going to actually put serious money into paid ads, I need to find a real solution. I do not want to take the money and I do not want to just guess on it, gamble on it. So I either need to figure it out, I need to bring someone in-house who has figured it out, or I need to hire an agency who has figured it out. Otherwise, I'm just guessing and I'm wasting my money.
And then I would imagine as you grow, let's say you did choose to go that, director of marketing space. I would imagine those companies, once they're getting to 8, 10 million, 12 million, they are working with agencies who are doing specific things for their business and they're kind of overseeing the strategy.
They sometimes do. It goes different directions.
Yeah.
So what we'll see more commonly is oftentimes we'll work with companies in the 1, 3, 5, $7 million range. Paris Painting would be an example here. So we built their site and we're working with them. And then ultimately they pulled it all in house because Olive Holdings, they're at like, I don't know, $50-60 million assets under management. And at some point, you have the capacity and the wherewithal to build an entire marketing division. And I think when you can build a division and you can have specialists in each of your roles, that's when you pull it all in house. I think if you're scaling $5, $8, $10 million and you expect one person to be able to run all that, it's setting that person up for failure.
That makes a lot of sense. Where do you see in the blueprint that you set out, where do you see the largest kind of change or strategy direction change in terms of either spend or kind of how you're looking at your campaigns?
In terms of the marketing landscape for painting contractors and just contractors in general. So I think one thing to be very, very aware of is Google is going to heavily prioritize local service ads. I believe that's the future of local service marketing. And so people have different feelings about LSAs. Those are the little Google guaranteed ads with the green check box. People have different feelings about that. Some people say, well, I run them and I don't get any leads. That's a pretty common complaint. Other people say, well, the leads are small jobs. That was a bigger complaint when it was under the handyman category. Now there's painting and there are already other categories for roofing, et cetera. But Google right now, they have Google Business Profile. So that's what we call the map pack. So when you search roofer near me, painter near me. There are going to be those 3 options with the reviews. You can see how many reviews they have. When we talk about getting Google reviews, that's where they go. And then you see the little map next to it. That's the Google Map Pack. That's a Google Business Profile. And so that is free for the contractor. If somebody goes and they call you or go to your website and submit a web form through the Google Business Profile, they do not pay Google to do that. You do not pay Google. Nobody pays Google. Google doesn't like that. So Google now rolled out local service ads. It was an entirely separate thing. They put at the very top of the search engine results page. So when you type something in, the Google local service has it at the very, very tippy top, which is prime real estate. And they kind of started hooking people in with that. They had a separate app. So there was an LSA app. They had separate
Oh, I didn't know that.
reviews. Yeah. So
Interesting.
you could get LSA reviews. It was weird because you'd get LSA reviews and then Google reviews, and they were these separate things. It was very weird. But now they're
Huh.
merging it. So they did away with the app. Now there's still an LSA website, but now the reviews are crossed over. So you actually get the reviews through Google Business Profile and it goes to LSA. All of that is
Okay.
to say that all these steps, Google doesn't announce this stuff. They don't say exactly where they're going, but all the steps that Google is taking indicate that local service ads is going to continue to increase in importance because it's basically going to take all those Google Business Profile leads that the companies that are very effective at that are getting for free right now, and it's going to start to make you
Mm.
pay for them.
Oh
So
boy.
adopt LSA, lean into that because you do want to be an early adopter. You want to build a strong profile there. Don't ignore
Yeah.
it because it is not going away.
How do you, if you're behind the curve on this, how do you get into that top three? How do you break through? Is it ultimately just spending more?
Yeah, so a lot of times right now they'll actually only show top two. It varies by
Ah,
area, which became even more competitive. You set up the LSA app, you go through all the background check. It's tied to the Google Business Profile. So again, it's this weird kind of thing where they're separate, technically different, but extremely correlated. And so you want to be very good at getting reviews. So you have to not only have a lot of reviews, Google cares about your cadence of reviews. So another mistake painters will make is they say, well, I haven't done a very good job getting reviews for 5 years. I'm going to hammer people. I'm going to try to get like 100 reviews and then I'm going to go to sleep again. And so Google,
mm,
after 3 months, they'll start to very much disqualify the value of that review. And so you need to keep them coming in on a steady cadence. There's your rating, there's your number of reviews, and there's your cadence of reviews. All three of those things matter. So having a strong review profile, and then when you have that LSA app set up, set it up the correct way. So in terms of optimizing for your services and service areas, there's a few different things that you need to do there the right way. And then answer the phone. So answer the phone. If you don't answer the phone, if you miss a message, call them back through the LSA website, call them back through the app, because a mistake that companies will make is they'll see a missed call through local service ads and then they might call back on another line. And so they don't actually go through that tracking number. They figure out, oh, they called from this number. They're going to go call back from their cell phone or somewhere else. Google's registering that as an ignored lead. You basically just made Google look stupid because they recommended you and you ignored them, even though you
ah,
didn't. And so now Google's going to start to penalize you and they're going to stop giving you leads because they think you're not responding to them.
I did not know that. That's wild. So Google, I mean, we've obviously known Google is something is like a necessary evil, but it is almost like continuing to lean into that namesake more so with
Yeah.
just these little hits that people don't realize are impacting their technically
Oh, yeah.
their organic searches.
For me, I always want to understand how things work. And I think when you do, then you can make more informed decisions and it makes more sense. And it can even be less frustrating. So Google's business case is to be the best search engine in the world. And they want to remain that way because that's how they have all the eyeballs. Ultimately, it's about data for them. But when
Hmm.
we're talking about Google pay-per-click, which is a big part of their monetization strategy, they need to have the most eyeballs on their search platform versus, let's say, Yahoo or Bing or DuckDuckGo or any of these other search engines. They do that by providing the best results. And so when they put you at the top of Google and when they recommend you as one of those top 2 or 3 spots in Google local service ads, they need to know that the customer experience is going to be a positive one, because I like to give it just a totally off the wall example. If I search for a painter near me and you just show me auto detail companies and this is the kind of feedback you're giving me on Google, I'm going to stop going to Google, right?
Yeah.
Because I realize this doesn't work. If I search painter near me, this one's a little more accurate, and you put something at the top of Google and I call them and they don't answer. And I call the next one, they don't answer. And I do the website and I go to a company and they do a terrible job and I leave them a 1-star review. And this happens over and over again. Every time I use Google, I go to Google to order pizza and the top one I order it and I hate it. And so if Google's just giving me these subpar results, I'm going to stop trusting Google. And now Google's
Yeah.
going to lose that eyeball and they're going to not be able to sell their Google ads, their Google local service ads, and their Google pay-per-click. They can't charge as much and sell it as much because it's not as effective because I'm not looking at Google anymore. So it's all about the user experience. That's why Google cares about the reviews. That's why they care about the trust of your website. That's why they care
Hmm.
about kind of going deeper, your backlink building and how old your domain is, because they're essentially putting their reputation and their experience on the line by putting you at the top of Google.
So I was going to ask you a question about, which strategies are difficult to implement effectively. I feel like LSA is a great example because a lot of us think that we're doing it, but we don't really understand the whys and how it's working
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's simple but not easy. And that
Yeah.
kind of goes back to the always marketing channels, the sales system. Because if you have a really strong sales system, you pick up the phone when they call you.
Yeah, not missing that call, calling back from the wrong number and kind of messing up that tracking and losing that quality.
Yeah.
The local service ads themselves. I mean, I want to talk about those a little bit more just from like, managing those from a cost perspective? What are the kind of average costs that you see for cost per click on those? And I guess this would be average because it's across the board for, the contractors you work with. And then how do businesses in general, how should they understand the cost that's associated for managing those? And I think that itself is a big problem of understanding is there's one thing to pay for ad spend and to pay for these things, but there's a cost of doing business, whether it's with someone that they've hired or, internally, or it's hiring an agency like yourself. How do they understand kind of what's the benchmark for understanding the cost of doing business?
Yeah, I love that. Molly, let me know if I'm kind of going off deep ends here because I
No,
just,
this is
okay.
good. I told you I create outlines, but then we go off of
Yeah,
them. So because it's these are really important conversations that come up a lot for our clients.
sure. I feel like maybe like a simpler answer would be easier to digest and I just go down these rabbit holes. But again, if I'm listening, I want to know how to think about it, kind of like teach a man
Yes.
how to fish, not just give him the fish, because it's going to be a lot more helpful long term. So local service ads is a pretty simple example there. For us, for painters, we see 20 to 40 or maybe $50 a lead. So
Okay.
that's roughly sometimes less than $20, but usually in the 20 to $40 right now. Google local service ads. I think that whole model is going to change. I think it's going to become a pay per click. So where anytime they click into it, you're going to pay. Right now, it's a pay per lead. That's a lot better
Okay.
for the contractors. I think it's like a drug dealer. They're getting us kind of hooked on it, and then they're
Yeah.
going to continue to monetize it better for Google. The how to think about an agency spend. So there are a lot of things depending on your agency, right? So some agencies they just run Facebook ads. That's it. So they run Facebook ads. Maybe they sync it to some software for you, and that's their company. So then it's fairly straightforward. So you're going to look at the leads that you get through them. You're going to factor in the ad cost. You're also going to build in the cost of the agency. That's essentially your marketing spend. And then you're going to look at what your ROI is, right? I think the one thing to keep in mind there is when you're looking at ROI, don't look at it every month. Like, well, I got 15 leads this month. I got 25 leads this month and I closed 3 of them. Look at it on a rolling 90-day basis because a
Okay.
lot of times it takes longer to close. We saw that in 2024, the buying cycle very much elongated. Anytime there's uncertainty, there's obviously a lot of political stuff going on right now. People tend to take longer to make a buying decision. So
That's
view
fair.
your leads on a rolling 90-day basis in terms of your ROI. What we do is we typically offer something more holistic. So we're doing social media marketing. So in terms of organic posting, we're posting to a Google business profile. We're conducting SEO. We're doing a lot of things in the background. We have a CRM sales system that we roll out. We do that quarterly database reactivation, that those leads on demand, reaching out to your lists and generating leads there. When you start to stack this stuff, it becomes a little more complicated because you have SEO working in the background. You have likely higher what's called conversion rate. So the leads that you get are more likely to move forward with you, and people who stumble upon you are more likely to become elite just because they see this professional presence throughout all of your content, through your social media, through your Google business profile, through everything. But I think the most important thing is take your agency fee, take the cost of your ad spend, view your leads on a rolling 90-day basis, track the repeat and referral leads that you get, because oftentimes that's totally ignored. Every time you walk into a new house, that's not just that house you're serving, it's a whole ecosystem that's opening up for you. So track your repeat and referral leads and then view it all on a 90-day rolling basis. And that's how you can get a very good fundamental understanding of your ROI with your agency spend included. And
How do
track,
you
you have to track.
track?
So for us, we use software called What Converts. We track everything. If a lead comes through Google Business Profile, if they come from what's called social media organic, so the posting but not the ad, if it comes from an ad, if it comes from local service ads, if it comes from pay-per-click, if it comes from SEO, if it comes from a direct website visit, you need to know where it's coming from so you actually understand how the different fundamental pieces of your marketing are working together.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense to kind of look at it holistically on the 90-day rolling, and such a good point to pull in the referral and repeat work, because that's technically also coming from
Yeah,
the strategy that you've been employing and work that brand
it
awareness
should be.
that you continue to build.
Yeah.
I really appreciate in kind of the best practice area of this, blueprint that you laid out. You actually laid out some like average professional, fees that are associated to this. And I'll just, if I can share
Yeah,
from
go for it.
within here, you say for the local service ads, you're looking at a range of anywhere from 250 to 500 a month for management of just LSAs. That's
Yep.
an industry standard. So I would say, and that would probably increase the larger of a business that you are, and the more you're spending, I would imagine, the more you're doing on LSAs. Does that make sense?
Honestly, the companies that are offering things like that are either typically very small local agencies, so they're usually working with smaller painting companies, or these marketing agencies that tend to target franchisees. So the ones
Okay.
that work with franchises, they have really downstream offers. So a lot of times they'll claim to, let me be a little careful. They'll conduct local SEO
Mhm.
and they'll charge $250 or $300 for that service, right? And it's kind of becomes this check the box thing that a corporate franchise can say, hey, we've struck this deal with this partnership with this company, and now we're providing local SEO
Yeah.
for everyone, and it's super cheap. So these are a company that would just manage LSAs would be a bit abnormal. They oftentimes would be targeting franchises.
Okay. But you would see this cost maybe built into a larger program that you're doing with an agency that's doing more things.
Yes, yeah. So we
Yeah.
roll it into our other programs, but yeah, we
Okay.
don't sell that individually.
Got it. How do you know? And this kind of leads me into just like building trust as a marketing agency. You said it kind of at the beginning, the context of how you got to, this blueprint and kind of putting this all together is just the confusion that kind of that lays out there, the words that are being thrown at us who are non-marketers, and we think it sounds smart and we should be doing these things, so we spend. How do you approach building trust and credibility with the marketing that you do in your space? How have you lasted and can kind of continue to remain at the forefront? I would say, especially within the PCA world. What makes you different in that way?
Yeah, so I have worked tremendously hard. I'd say sometimes to the detriment of my health on our operations, right? So I've spent far more time, I believe, as a percentage of my time, and just a tremendous amount of hours on operations, on fulfillment, on team building, on SOPs, on generating results because I care. Right. The companies that are partnering with us, sometimes they're not that big and
Mhm.
sometimes they are, but either way, they're betting the livelihood of their families and themselves on it. Me being an entrepreneur, me having gone through the auto detailing road and then selling that company and then building another company, it sucks, right? It's, if we're being honest, it really sucks to build a company. And so the last thing I would do is want to take on a partner, take their money, and then make their life more difficult than it already is. So I want to make sure that what we're doing is producing results. And this space, it's almost like operating in a little fishbowl. It's a very small ecosystem. The PCA, all these
Mhm.
little tight-knit groups. I think there are, depending on who you ask, 200, 300,000 painting companies in the US, many of them solopreneurs, but there are about 1,400 members in the PCA. So if you've been like the painter marketing pros and you're operating there for 5 years, you will not survive if you don't generate results, and you will not survive if you mistreat your partner. So for me, I'm here for the long haul. We've seen several agencies come and go, and they kind of cycle in and out. Painter Marketing Pros isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So everything that's wrong with the space, I've worked very hard to make our program different. So for example, lack of data. So there's lack of transparency. That's super common. We see
Yep.
it in SEO obviously being the epitome. We also see it in paid ads. So we have a full reporting dashboard that people can log in. We use a software called Agency Analytics. They can log in, and anything that they're doing with us, they can see how those results are going. So if they're running local service ads, they can see whatever time period they select, how many they generated, cost per lead. Facebook ads, how many leads generated, cost per lead. They can actually see all the posts that we're doing. They can click in and open their Facebook, open their Google Business profile. They see the number of impressions. That's people actually seeing it on their posts, on their Google Business profile. They see their SEO results. They see their number of leads that period and where those leads came from, whether it was SEO, whether it was Google Business profile, which would really be local SEO, whether it was social media organic. So just the posting of all the stuff we're doing for them, whether it would be a
Mhm.
paid ad. So we're very, very big on transparency. Another issue with marketing agencies is communication. So
Yeah.
they're great during the sales process. These guys are awesome. And then you sign with them. It's like, man, I can't get a hold of them. I keep asking for these issues. I want to take a look at something and I can't get a hold of them. So we've done a really good job building what we refer to as partner advocacy team. So those are our account managers. We call them partner advocates. They meet with every partner at least once a month and oftentimes more frequently. Our internal barometers to communicate at least once every 2 weeks. And we have same
Nice.
business day response. So if you email us, call us, text us, you're going to get a response that same business day, assuming your PA is not on a vacation or it's not a weekend or something
Yeah.
like that. And then so the transparency, the communication, and then really the effectiveness. So when I started Painter Marketing Pros, I realized the big gap for painting contractors was the sales process. They generally were not very good at selling, and they generally
Mhm.
would not answer the phone. They wouldn't get in touch with the lead quickly. They call a lead back the next day and they wonder why the lead doesn't pick up or doesn't care to set an estimate. And so we actually built an entire sales system within a CRM that we roll out and train and update and actually customize for all of our partners. So it's a sales and marketing program as opposed to, hey,
Cool.
here's the lead. I hope you can do okay with it.
You're like, this, we worked so hard to get this lead. Let's really help you kind of carry it, carry it forward to the end.
I want us, I mean, part of it's standardizing it's standardizing our quality, right? It's like a quality
Yeah.
control. So the more aspects that we can assist with, the more kind of guardrails we put in place, because we know, hey, when a lead comes in through Facebook, we know it's what's called interruption advertising. They weren't looking for you. You essentially went out and found them. We know that that lead needs to be reached out to immediately. We know that lead needs to be warmed up. If we neglect that and we treat it like any other lead, then that set rate is going to be very low. And that's why you hear, oh, Facebook ads, they don't work, right? Those leads, they're garbage. Well, it's because there's no sales system in there to actually make those leads work.
So not all leads should be treated equally in a sense. They're all,
They almost all should be treated equally,
yeah.
because you should just do best practices for every lead, but not
Okay.
all leads come in equally. So that being said,
Okay.
that doesn't mean the Facebook lead is a bad lead. It means it's what's called a colder lead. So when someone's
Okay.
looking for you when someone's a repeat customer, that should be a 90+% close rate. They've already done business with you. The trust factor is so high. When they're a referral, 80+% close rate. Their friend referred them, their family member referred them. The trust is so high. When somebody comes through on Google, well, they're investing their time, which for wealthy homeowners, who our partners target, their time is their most valuable asset. So they're investing their time doing homework, trying to find the right company. If they're investing their time, they're willing to invest their money. That is a good lead. They're investing their time. They found you because you're conducting effective SEO or you're running effective Google ads. They found you and essentially Google recommended you to them. So now it's kind of like a lower tier recommendation, but still one that they trust. When you move into paid social media, so Facebook ad, none of that happened. So they were scrolling. It could be the same individual, meaning it's the same quality of lead, the same project, but it came through a different channel. That person wasn't as invested into you. So you need to recognize that, and you need to essentially warm that relationship up immediately and build value and warm up the lead.
That makes a lot of sense. And I haven't looked at it in that kind of in that lens before. But yeah, I mean, so you're right. Best practices around all leads, but some of them need quicker touches and a different kind of order of operations in how we communicate with them from the start.
You will be given more grace. You can get away with more with a repeat
Yeah.
customer, for example. You don't call
You've
them back
earned it
right away.
already.
You've
Yeah.
earned it. They know you. They trust you. I mean, you still ideally would, but if you call them back a few hours later, they're pretty bought in. It's sort of your project to lose at that point. With a social media ad, you call that lead back a few hours later, they don't even know who you are.
Makes so much sense. Brandon, this has been great. For the sake of time, I will kind of end it here. There's so much more we could dive into, which I just hope this means that you and I can connect again for further
Awesome.
discussions in this space, because you're shooting out a lot of wisdom here, which is awesome. Part of why I love doing these podcasts is because I always learn something new in all the different conversations that I have. If folks want to connect with you, learn more about Painter Marketing Pros, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, awesome. They can send me an email directly. I'd love to hear what they think about this episode. So if you send me an email, my personal work email, but directly to me is Brandon, Brandon at paintermarketingpros.com. I will receive that. I'll respond to you. The other thing is we talked about this workbook and kind of the session that I went through at the PCA Expo. If they want to participate in this, they can actually fill out an online diagnostic. So they can answer the questions. They'll get the roadmap. They'll get some of the stuff we talked about here. If they go to diagnostic.paintermarketingpros.com, they can actually fill that out and they'll get a PDF email to them and kind of see on the PDF everything we've been talking about plus some.
That's awesome. And we'll be sure to link that as well in the show notes and in the description of the episode. Brandon, I really appreciate the time. This was great. There will be more certainly to come, but thanks for bringing us into your world. And gosh, one thing I learned is that Google just continue. I think we all need to spend a little bit more time learning about how Google actually works and being a little bit prepared for what's coming down the road.
It's Google's world. We're just living in it.
So true. Thank you.
Thanks, Vali.